guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to be talking about something good about the Gacha system for a lot of Gacha games out there that we are sick and tired of 50-50 pull rates. So if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're going to be reacting a little bit to this with Gacha Smack here, but also we're going to be talking about the Gacha system and why it's actually pathetic that we have a bunch of Gacha games that have 50-50 pull rates. That is not necessary. So
Very fascinating topic to delve into, and it's perfect and ripe for the particular season we're in with Gacha Gaming. If you are like me, and I'm pretty sure you are, many of you are, you weren't a Gacha addict before Genshin Impact, and you weren't even a Gacha player before Genshin Impact. That was the first game you got into.
that's true.
The game was so monumentally massive because of the pandemic, and that it was also a fresh game in the space, that it brought in a heaping amount of players outside of the Gacha space. Normies, people from different respective niches, so on and so forth. And the good thing about that experience when it happened is that that was also the very first time a lot of people got to play a gacha game. And talk all the shit you will about gacha games, there are some very fun aspects about them. And those fun aspects were overwhelmingly positive for a fresh experience, right? We had our V cards like basically cracked with this game. And so the hype, the FOMO, the oohs and ahs, when you play a gacha game at launch, it's climax, it's what do you call it? Honeymoon phase is incredibly powerful. So when you play a gacha game for the first time, it's infinitely more powerful than you would think. But basically, this happened, and people fell in love with these games, and it allowed them to basically have kind of like a tunnel vision for ignoring the predatory practices, the alarming problems of what.
No, that's for some people who are blinded by the predatory practices that these companies actually do when it comes to the Gacha game. I'm not. I don't. No, for me, I see everything with their predatory stuff they're doing. I see the 50-50. I see the pay to win aspects, what they're trying to do. I'm busy right now. All right, sorry about that, guys. Back to it. But yeah, the predatory practices what these companies do, and a lot of these gacha games are not really worth it if they continuously doing the predatory practices and what they're doing for a lot of these games, especially like kind of like what Sony does when when you purchase games, right? Like their whole ecosystem for Sony is predatory to some degree because they're making their games so, pretty expensive. It's just in a different way than just an in-game live service that has predatory practices like that. So it's just like, some people are blinded by it. There's people that's not blinded by it, and they will continue to keep throwing money into these publishers who make these live service games, like Wua, for instance, like Wuthering Waves or something like that. But no, me personally, I would say Where Winds Meet is better on mobile, and it's better. It's a better game than Wua to some degree because in Where Winds Meet, there's no pay to win aspect. There's no predatory practices in Where Winds Meet the same way that Wuthering Wave has. There's no 50-50. There's no new characters. There's no character swap. There's no stuff like that. But it does have cosmetics. But the cosmetics are between free or pay. And it's like, well, Where Winds Meet is not a pay to win game because it's not. There's no pay to win aspect within the game for Where Winds Meet. But Gacha games like Wua has 50-50. You summon for characters. You spend money to summon for characters, or you grind for free, get this free stuff, and then you summon for the character that you want. Hey, you get shafted. Hey, that is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. You can cry out. You can cry your whole tears out. But other than that, it's crazy how the gacha system actually works these days with these predatory practices and what they're doing. Let's continue here.
Comes with playing a gacha game. And you were able to get away with these garbage practices as a developer because there
Yes.
also wasn't any other games to compare, to reference in the
Right.
mainstream space. especially to noobs who don't know anything about gotcha games. You're
Right.
able
Yeah. Noobs do not know anything about gacha games at all. I'm not a noob, so I've been doing games for many years and understand the gacha system and how it works because when you play it, when you first start, you'll know. You'll know. But for some people out there, they don't know. They don't know that it's a gacha game. Just like Genshin Impact. When Genshin Impact started, right? That's the first gacha game that actually came out. Especially a gacha game that's open world actually first came out, which was Genshin Impact. We all should know Genshin Impact was the first gacha game open world to succeed by far. And now the game is dying on its last legs because, for one, the devs, publishers, they're all greedy for money, and that's the only reason why Genshin Impact ain't going the way it's going because we know that these devs in this company, right, Hoyo Verse, right, is that they are the most greediest company I've known by far than any other gacha company out there. I'm being serious because these, yeah, it's no fun. It's really is. We don't like 50-50 pull rates. We don't like the gacha system in these games, and they could swap it too. Instead of putting 50-50, they just could put cosmetics. They can do, you pay for cosmetics or you can get some of them for free. And I mean, Withering Wave gives free cosmetics for your motorbike. I'm not saying we don't do that because they do. They give you the option. They give you the option. You can pay for cosmetics or you can get free ones. That's also a good way for them to actually make better money than just giving 50-50 pull rates, spending more money on the game with these predatory practices that is not necessary in these games. That all you need is the cosmetic system. And that's really all you need. Hey, Kuru Games is not going to do that. They're not going to remove 50-50 from rule. It'll be a surprise if they do that, but they're not going to do that. And the reason for that is because they want to keep, they are somewhat greedy company as well, but at least they're giving us the options to actually choose between paying for cosmetics or getting free cosmetics. And that's one good thing about Wua and what they do on their side. But the 50-50 pull rate is the only issue for Withering Waves. But not like games like Where Winds Meet, where there's no pay to win or there's um no pull rates or nothing like that for new characters because, well, Wua doesn't do new characters because it's based off the one simple customized character that you've created. It's an open world game with cosmetics between paying for cosmetics and free cosmetics. And then Where Winds Meet has no character swap because that's not how the game was designed. So it's like, well, Where Winds Meet is a better game to play than it is for Wua. But Wua has better visual quality and better gameplay experience, not just Where Winds Meet in that state.
to get away with this, basically. But then what happens? Time starts to go by, and these issues start to become more apparent and alarming, and players start complaining, and they start looking for another game in that respective niche to
Right.
play because at that time it's not oversaturated. It's not a fragmentation at the point in time, right? So then Honkai Star Rail comes out, and that becomes the next cope for playing a gotcha game that isn't Genshin Impact.
Yeah, I played Honkai Star Rail. I played it for like a little while, and then I just threw the game out the window. I don't play that game anymore because I don't know. I just don't really like HSR, which is Honkai Star Rail. I don't really like the game. The game is just utterly boring. It's too like it's too much turn based. Like, I don't know. You don't really have that good combat experience. It's very lackluster in HSR. It's too turn based for me. So it's like I need a game that's a lot more free roaming to it, like a lot more open world, kind of like Where Winds Meet Wua or like NTE or something like that. That has more of character control than just turn-based combat, which is not good for a game to have. It's just turn-based combat. I just don't like turn-based games really that much, and I choose not really to play them. You know, every once in a while, like if it's a good turn-based game, I may play for like a little while, but then I'll just throw the game out the window. I'll just uninstall because oh my goodness, turn-based games aren't good, bro.
It's going to be better. It's going to be different. But then you realize you're playing two gacha games now that
Oh
both have 50-50 systems, right? So that
yeah,
same wallet is now having to spend just a little bit more money, even if they aren't spending as much money on one individual game. You combine what they're spending on two games, and it's increasing. And everybody has a budget. Everybody only has so much money that they can spend
right,
on
right.
one individual gacha game, let alone two.
Well, I don't spend money in Gacha games because the whole purpose for me playing Gacha games is not just to pull new characters. I want to experience the vast world of whatever Gacha game that I'm gonna play. I don't just want to, get the character all the time. Like I get it. Like, hey, you want this new character. It looks cool. You want to summon for it. You want to spend money for it. But I don't spend money in Gacha games. Not Wuwa, not any other Gacha game out there. I have not spent money in because that's not the only purpose for a Gacha game. It has more than just summoning for new characters, spending money. It's like that's not what we come to Gacha games for, just strictly just to be summoned for new characters all the time. Like you want to play the game, play for the story, play for the combat, explore the vast world, even though the exploration is terrible in these open world Gacha games, which I do agree with. Not saying I'm not denying that, but yeah, it's crazy how all these Gacha games just rely strictly just 50-50. And the ones that did not do 50-50 will probably be like NTE, which is Neverness to Everness, because they don't have 50-50, which is they do 70-30, which is entirely different. But NTE is better in terms of uh, Gacha practice. I would say it's just better because NTE has no 50-50, but you're still summoning for new characters. But it's not that bad though. But you have to understand games that do not have any 50-50 system at all, there's no Gacha to it, are the games that's actually succeeding a little bit better than Gacha games. Kind of like where Wins Meet is actually at, because this is where Wins Meet actually wins, because there's no 50-50, there's no summoning for characters, there's no character swap, there's no pay to win aspect of the game in the game at all. And it's good that where Wins Me is succeeding in that aspect right there, because they have the exploration of the exploring the vast world, open world, but they do not have like those worlds that you're engaging in. They're too There's too much space into it, and they need to close the gap just a little bit, and I'll put a little bit more areas within these open world areas, like put more places in them instead of leaving the whole map almost fully empty. It's like, brother, y'all got to do better than that.
Three, or four. But what happens is the space has to increase in volume and popularity, because if it doesn't, well, then you just have the same players spending the same money from their wallets. That's only going to carry you so far,
Right,
right?
right.
And so what happens after this? Wuthering Waves comes out. The real Genshin killer. At least that's what they were being marketed as, whether
It
they wanted to or
was.
not. More players start playing that game. Some of them leave Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail to play this game. Some of them stay there. Others start playing 3 different gacha games at once. But regardless,
Okay, I don't
a
do
lot
that.
of
I don't play
players
three
aren't coming
different.
into the
That's
space
kind
the
of
way they
crazy.
did when the pandemic announced Genshin Impact. It's
Yeah.
kind of just the same players circulating around and trying different gacha games. Well, this particular
I'm
dynamic
gonna,
and
I'm
pathing.
I'm gonna keep this simple. I had a great time playing Genshin Impact when the game came out, and I played it for a couple of years. But after that, I'm not coming back to Genshin because of their predatory practices. That's like garbage within Genshin Impact. And there's no skip button in the game still right now. Why would I freaking come back to Genshin Impact? It's crazy. I'm not coming back to Genshin Impact. They can kiss my crack. Okay? Like, no, I'm not coming back to Genshin Impact. They can kick rocks. All right? That game can kick rocks. I will stay with Withering Waves or Where Winds Meet or NCE or maybe a whole nother different game because I'm not coming back to Genshin. That's never going to happen. But let's continue.
Continues to happen, but it speeds up rapidly as we know it. We know how this story goes. More and more Gacha games start coming out. You got Chaos Zero Nightmare. You got Love in Deep Space. You've got Arknight's Infield. You got Neverness to Everness. You've got many other Nike, Goddess of Victory, Girls Frontline 2, Exilium.
Those
All of
games
these
are
Gacha
already
games
been
start
out.
coming out, but a lot of them are still doing 50-50 systems.
Yeah, and
Chaos
it's
Zero Nightmare did
garbage.
the
We're
50
tired
50
of
system.
50
Girls
50.
Frontline 2, Exilium did it. You've got Uma Musume. You've got Star Savior, which aren't even 50 50s. They might even be worse because you can keep pulling until you just hopefully get the character.
Survive as
Right.
long as possible, but be ready to die thousands of times. Incrementally, you'll improve as you test.
Come on.
Hopefully get the character. But one thing that's for certain is the gacha space as a whole is not actually expanding, and if it is, it isn't enough to
Yeah, it's not
compensate
expanding
for that
enough. Yeah.
fragmentation and oversaturation of rapid gacha games releasing with these 50-50 systems. So what's one thing
Exactly. That's the whole. That's the reason why it's so saturated because they're applying predatory practices within the games that they're making, and it's making it very very saturated. That's why there's not enough people to play the game because of the predatory practices and what they're doing. If they just applied just cosmetics, kind of like with Do It Night Abyss. Now, Do It Night Abyss, they actually won, and why that game did pretty well was because Do It Night Abyss had a cosmetic system they were doing, and there was no Gacha 50-50 for characters. They made every character for free for new updates and stuff like that, and that's why Do It Night Abyss actually won in that aspect. But now, Do It Night Abyss is a dead game, not because of the predatory practices what they're doing. Well, it was because Do It Night Abyss had graphic issues and they had bugs and glitches, and the game had they've been hacked twice by their terrible, poor security system for that game, and why that's the reason why Do It Night Abyss failed as a game, not because of the cosmetics that they were putting in their game. You know what I mean? If Withering Waves did cosmetics right now rather than the 50-50, and they made every character for free, I guarantee you there will be so many players on Woowa right now that people wouldn't even engage to quit. They would not quit. They would continuously play in the game like people are playing it right now that does have a 50-50. But there's not very many people playing Woowa like that. But we have a good amount, I would say.
Learned as time goes by. I remember in the beginning, I tried to tell people so much about these predatory practices and how much money you're actually spending on these games is ludicrous, that these companies are making too much money, and it was falling on so many deaf ears.
Mm-hmm.
But you speed up today, and people now understand that phenomenon, that problem, over glaring. It's a glaring problem.
Right.
Because they're starting to play all these different gacha games. Some of them are trying to manage multiples at once, and they're spending so much money. Why? One of the reasons, because of the 50-50 system.
Right,
Losing
exactly.
it means spending a lot more money than you're comfortable with spending.
Right.
And nobody wants to feel like they lost trying to acquire a character.
Right.
Spending money to acquire a character in and of
That's
itself
why I don't.
is a
You know what?
fool's errand. It's
That's why I don't like 50-50. I don't like 50-50 pull rate. It's garbage. You know, they could do 70-30 or something like that instead of doing 50-50, because 50-50 is garbage, it's terrible, it's a very bad predatory practice. And they do it because they want to expand and gain a lot more money, because we know how these corporations are. They're greedy with money, and that's why they're doing it. You know?
foolish, but it's also a part of the gotcha culture. And that's a battle I gave up on a long time ago.
Mhm.
However, if you could choose to have a 50-50 system or not have a 50-50 system, most would say F the 50-50 system.
True.
Well, now we're living in a gotcha space where developers are competing for your time and your money because the gotcha space isn't increasing in volume enough to overcompensate for oversaturation
Right.
and fragmentation. And when
Right.
those two variables compound on top of each other, now you get a very competitive market where the future gotcha games now have to give you better incentives, better monetary incentives and practices for free to play friendly.
Yeah, free to play games need like a cosmetic system rather than a 50-50 pull rate for new characters, that most people do not actually want 50-50 in these free to play games because it's not necessary. If you're making a free to play game, make it free to play instead of trying to force a gacha system into a free to play game that is not necessary. They should just add just cosmetics instead. And that, I'm pretty sure people will be fine with that. Kind of like Where Winds Meet. Why you think Where Winds Meet wins as a better game? There's no gacha system. There's no pay to win aspect within Where Winds Meet, and no character swap. No, they have cosmetics, but they have no other issues within the game, especially on mobile, because the game is well optimized. But yes, we do not like 50-50. I don't like 50-50. I think the gacha system for the 50-50 pull rate is just utterly garbage, and it's not necessarily. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't want it. That's just the way it's going to go.
Teams and dynamics, or I'm sorry, games and dynamics, so that you want to try their game and potentially leave the game you're playing or try to squeeze in their game with the game you're playing. And here lies the problem. Here comes the end of an era.
Right.
Because this is becoming a over.
You know what? Before you say something, this is the best time that should be the end of 50-50 pull rates, because if they're going to continue making gacha games, then just add cosmetics and not 50-50 pull rates for characters and spend money. If you want people to spend money for a free to play game, just put cosmetics. Cosmetics will do the work, and I guarantee you, people will still spend money in the game. They'll have if they did that with Withering Waves, I guarantee you Withering Waves will actually do a lot better than it is right now. Just saying.
Glaring problem for developers and publishers. They now are forced naturally to make their games way more accessible and free to play friendly than the ones you're currently playing. And this is where things get interesting.
Like NTE.
Because the first game to really make that power move was Neverness to Everness.
Yes.
Not a PvP, and that's very important. Because Epic 7 and Summoner's War and Etheria Restart, people will.
Yeah, and I like Neverness to Everness. That's the whole point of me playing Neverness to Everness in the first place. Because with Neverness to Everness, you can explore the vast world. You can have your own shop. You can purchase your own car. You can customize it. You can do lots of things. You can complete commission quests for anomalies. You can fight anomaly bosses almost anywhere on the map, and you can explore the vast world of Hitharu, which is, I'm trying to say the right words, but you explore the whole city, and you can do whatever you want. You can visit stores. You can purchase things. Like, Neverness to Everness fills that gap between other gacha games that NTE is just half of a gacha game, because it's not a full gacha game, because there's no 50-50. It's 70-30. So technically, because I say that NTE is half gacha, because it's not 100%. You know what I mean? There's no 50-50. And we don't want 50-50 in NTE in any kind of way. If they want to make money, they can keep it at 70-30 and just add cosmetics like they did right now. You know, they do have cosmetics in the game for characters like outfits and stuff. And their prices are not too high actually. If you do buy something in NTE, the price is not really that high at all. I think the highest is $26, and that's pretty damn good because you don't want a gacha game to be overpricing what they're doing. And this is why NTE actually succeeds, because a lot of people will downgrade or degrade NTE because they don't like it, for some people out there, but doesn't mean you have to shame the game because the game is different. You know what I mean? Like, some people will get bored of the game and some people don't. In fact, there's still a lot of people that's playing NTE probably right now, and you don't even know it unless they're streaming it. But at the same time, we already know NTE is the better game than WUA. And the reason why I say NTE is better than a WUA, well, in terms of exploration, in terms of adding vehicles that you can purchase and customize, well, you can do the same thing in WUA a little bit with the motorbike, you know? But I'm talking about like actually purchasing a car, actually purchasing a vehicle. You know what I mean? Like, NTE, you can have your own apartment, you can decorate your own apartment. Like, you can't do that in WUA. And it's just like, WUA is just a story based combat game. You know what I mean? WUA is basically just a story based combat exploration game. That's basically what WUA is as a gacha game. NTE has everything almost. Exploration, you can do almost anything, and does have commission stories and all that type of stuff. Like, NTE is just a better game in general. Well, some people may not like NTE and some people do, but that's the whole premise, because everybody likes what they like, and you can't force people to play these types of games. If they don't like it, hey, move on to another whole game. If it ain't for you, don't install. That's all I gotta say.
Try and say those games have guaranteed no 50-50s. That doesn't matter because they're PvP, and if they didn't make their game a guaranteed rate up, people would just quit them, because who the hell wants to play a PvP game where you're gambling on getting characters that are meta? Nobody wants to do that. Not in a PvP game. But when a single player game comes along and says, we're doing no 50-50, we're not doing it, we're giving up on that,
Good.
we'll get it, we'll get our bag
Like they
by
did in
various
NTE?
means such as cosmetics and such, but we are done with the 50-50 system. That is a huge power move
Yeah, it
by
is.
that particular developer. That's also going to ripple and affect.
I will support that. I will support the publishers for no 50-50 in gacha games. No 50-50. This is a good sign. This is a good start for NTE, and why NTE is actually succeeding in the market, because there's no 50-50 in NTE. And this is where NTE actually shines. You can get almost every character in the game if you wanted to. Not bad, right? Like, this is where NTE actually wins. You know what I mean? It's absolutely insane.
Future gacha games and pre-existing gacha games. And it's the first step to going in the right direction, truly, especially when you consider fragmentation and oversaturation, right? Now, we're in a space where when a game starts to drop, the first thing people question is there a 50-50 system? People have become so overly sensitive to the 50-50 system that they won't even touch the game if it's a 50-50. If it's officially confirmed 50-50, oh, not playing it. Some people right now are jumping to conclusions on rumors, and it's not even confirmed yet by the devs of Silver Palace if there actually is a 50-50 or if it's Arknight's infill, whatever. But people are so sensitive to it. Like, nope, I'm out. And I think this was the natural pathing of what has transpired in the gacha space, right? But getting back to NTE, the best thing that people can do by saying you don't want a 50-50 is support games with no 50-50s in this space. This is very common logic. It's not like you need a rocket science degree to understand this phenomenon. If you doom post NTE, well, then you're also telling the developers, future Gacha game developers, we don't care if you even put no 50-50 in your game, we're still going to doom post it. So why would I remove my 50-50? I mean, NTE did it and they still hated on the game. Let's just go proceed with the 50-50 because they're playing Wuthering Waves, they're playing Arknight's Infill, they're playing Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless on Zero. All those games have 50-50s and they're making a heaping amount of money off of these guys. So clearly, getting rid of the 50-50 isn't the issue. You see where I'm going? Silver Palace is another game coming into the mainstream space, and all eyes are on its gacha system. This is good. This is wonderful. Because what y'all are going to do is are going to compare it to Neverness to Everness. That's what you should do. You compare it to the best market contender in the mainstream space, and that's Neverness to Everness, or a free-to-play, consumer-friendly experience. By doing that, you are now forcing another mainstream space game to have to confine to that principle, because if they don't...
Yeah, and this is where two games are succeeding on mobile, NTE and Where Winds Meet. These two games are winning on mobile, especially because these two games do not have a gacha system and they don't have 50-50, especially Where Winds Meet, because that's the main game that does not have any gacha to it. It's just an open world single player game, single player experience with no character swapping and no 50-50 gacha system that's implemented, and there's no pay to win aspects in Where Winds Meet. That's why that game succeeds. But people been, downgrading the game because they be like, okay, well, there's not much to do in the game. People just throwing the game under the bus because they think the game is very, very, very boring. And it's just like, come on, come on. You're trying to make the game worse because you don't really like the game that much. That's pretty much what it is. Hey, people got their opinions. I'll see what they want to say.
It's going to be a massive market capture loss. And on top of that, just recently, Chasing Collider Rider, another upcoming gacha game that's not PvP, that's important, just announced no 50-50, and they're adding limited banners into the standard banner upon their banners expiring.
That's good. That's pretty
in the right
good.
direction. Another game people need to support. It's important you support these games because that's how you tell future developers we don't want 50-50s in our games. But them on top of...
Yeah, because Wuthering Waves as a gacha game that's 50-50, Wuthering Waves is the last gacha game I'm playing. I'm not playing any other gacha game out there, especially on mobile. Wuthering Waves will be the last gacha game I play. I'm not playing any other gacha games out there. I've only played 2 or 3 gacha games. I played Genshin Impact back then. I played HSR, which is Honkai Star Rail, and Wuthering Waves. And the reason why I played these 3 games was because new games, new experiences. But at the same time, Wuthering Waves will be the last gacha game I play, and I'm moving up to games with no 50-50. Like Where Winds Meet, NTE, games that do not have a 50-50. This is the right step. Kind of like Once Human. That's an open world game. Once Human, and it's also a cosmetic game as well, and they also have cosmetics. So that's one cool thing about Once Human. That's also a great game to play. I'm not saying it isn't, because the only issue with Once Human is they're very, very terrible with updates, and that's like the main issue with Once Human is the updates to the game is terrible. They really delay and hold back on updates for Once Human, which is a big problem. And by the way, the game's coming out August 25th, I think, for the PS5 for free to play. So if you guys want to play Once Human on PS5 free to play, wait till August 25th. It's coming up pretty soon. You just gotta wait a couple more weeks, and the game will be out and you can play it. So let's finish here.
Doing this, not only is it going to put pressure on future gacha games, it's going to put pressure on pre-existing gacha games too.
Exactly.
Because what's going to happen is people who are playing these current gacha games are going to go, hey, hold on now, why aren't you guys doing this? Why couldn't y'all have added?
Yeah, kind of like Wuthering Waves, where they're not removing 50-50, and that's the problem. Like, If they remove 50-50 in Withering Waves, I guarantee you Withering Waves will succeed by far than it is right now. If Kuro Games remove 50-50 in Wuwa, I guarantee you Wuwa will be better. Will be better than it is right now. But they're not going to do that. Come on. Kuro Games is not going to do that. They're not going to remove 50-50 in Wuwa. They're not going to do it. They care too much for the money, so they want the bag, bro.
These limited
But they can still make the bag with cosmetics. Just saying.
into the standard banner. Why do you still have to do this 50-50? You're making plenty of money. This is an overall net positive for the gacha space. And this is why I said this is potentially entering the end of an era, and that era is the 50-50 era. Now, do I think that Wuthering Waves and,
Yep. Okay, I'm going to end the video here. I said my piece right there. But yes, the gacha system 50-50 pull rate pulls need to be removed in certain Pacific games like Wuwa or other gacha games out there that do have a 50-50 that needs to be removed. But like I said, with Kuro games, they're not going to remove 50-50. If they do remove 50-50, they're headed in the right direction. But they're not going to do it as of right now. Just saying. They're not going to do it. So see you guys in the next video. Peace out. I think this was a good video here. Talk about this. I think, yes, every game that has a gacha system should remove 50-50. So that'll be a good start. So see you guys in the next video. Peace out. I actually enjoyed this video myself. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.